Denice Margaret Rose Featherstonehaugh, which is quite a mouthful. I was born in Kimber. My father worked in the postal department there, and of course there was no phones and that sort of thing. So he was the postal clerk who did the telegrams, and they were all sent in Morse code. And so, and then the messenger boy would go out with the telegram to the person with the greetings. And later he worked for the government, and during the war he signed the Secrets Act and worked on aerodromes in remote places where he had contact with squadrons of the RAF, the Royal Australian Air Force. Mother was different. She worried all the time. Something was always wrong. And if she didn't have something to worry about, she worried about that. She never had a quiet moment, I don't think. But she had a large family. There were 7 of us. And I was 18 when the youngest was born. We had 5 girls and 2 boys. And my father said it was petticoat rule in our house. And the 2 boys were in the middle of the girls. So they had petticoat rule too. And they were nice boys, you know. Well, father wasn't around a lot. He was on aerodromes in remote places, and there wasn't always accommodation during the war. It was hard to get accommodation. So we just stayed down in Adelaide at Prospect. That's the longest we stayed in any place. Until Mount Gambier. Freezing Mount Gambier. Shocking. That's why I can be like this today. We were there for 7 years, but I left there and I went nursing at the Adelaide Children's Hospital, where I graduated. And then instead of going on nursing, I married. I married John, who was an only child. I don't think he realised how big. But Grandma told me marriage is management and not to let him know.
So where did you meet him?
Blind date. It was a Easter Sunday afternoon, and I got a very odd sort of shift that day, which means you didn't have time to go far because you never get back in time and all the rest of it. And I had a friend, my friend who was off, and she ended up being my bridesmaid. And she was off too. And I had a boyfriend, no matter who I went out with, he was still there. He'd still ring up and say, "You still seeing so-and-so, you know?"
Oh.
I'd say, "No." He'd say, "Would you like to go out for a meal tonight?" Anyway, Pauline said to me, "We should go out somewhere. I'm not going to stay home." And I said, "Yes." I said, "Where's your old faithful?" Well, she said, "He's down at Victor Harbour for Easter." So she said to me, "Where's your old faithful?" I said, "He's down there too." So she said, "My cousin might be down from the country." perhaps I'll give him a ring. And I said, what sort of a car has he got? I'll regret saying this or not. And she said a black Jag. So I said, give him a ring. So she did and he did. We went out for a ride around the Adelaide Hills because we had to be back by 3:30 and on duty again. And I went out with a different bloke that night and he went out with a different girl. And then came the inevitable phone call. You're doing anything tonight? And I went from there. My friend ended up, she's the first cousin to my husband, and she ended up my bridesmaid.
That's
So
beautiful.
there we go. Get married in a little chapel in Adelaide, run by nuns of course, you know. Mass, those days, you did all that sort of thing. And Mum and Dad were in the middle of moving to Queensland. And of course I had my grandma to consider, her age, and she couldn't travel. So we just had a quiet home reception of about 40, which was all right. Well, the first cousins, I mean, they were trouble. And they behaved themselves this time.
Okay.
There weren't enough of them there. So, so Mum and Dad relocated in Queensland, in Brisbane. And it was, they came home. I eventually ended up with 6 children, boys, all of them. Richard, Stephen, Michael, Andrew, Mark and Nicholas. And John had a first cousin, Carmel, and she had 8 boys in 8 years and 1 week. And they called the last one Henry VIII, which we all thought was a scream. But she coped with them. She had help, which helps. But we lived in the country, John and I. The house, 100 years old, 17 rooms. That was on the Survey Road, which cuts off the dirt road, off the Port Germain Road, and the Survey Road, which it was on, is the back road to Melrose. And I loved it there. You know, you look at this great big house, but the kids loved it, you know. They could run up the passage and we had this woodwork up the top by the ceiling and you could hear them start from the back door and they'd get a run up and jump up to see how far the finger marks would go. And then after that you'd hear another run up and they were competing to see, you know, how far the hands would go. They were still there when I left the house.
Wow.
The finger marks, you were thinking, yeah. The eldest boy took it over, then he sold it. We had something like 3,000 acres, cost a lot of money. Like John had added on to the original lot. And the kids could go a mile away and they'd still be on the place. It has Blue Hill one side, and I forget the name of the paddock on the other side we had, but our land was both sides.
Wow.
John put in a swimming pool. I used to go skinny dipping at night, especially when the boys had left home, you know. The boys went to the Murray Town School on a bus, And I remember Richard was the first one to go. Well, he wouldn't come in the car first day at school. What's wrong with me? The bus goes past the house, Mum. So he went on the bus and I had to go around my own car. And I have to say, the kids had a happy time there. Most of the teachers seemed quite capable. Then they went to Rostrevor College.
Okay.
So they were all 12 for the starting of the first year down there in secondary school. And I used to hear from the brothers almost as often as I did from the kids. Just little things. I suppose if they all did the little things it would have been chaos, but they had to know there was something more than the land for their living afterwards. Because there's no way you could have a family that big on that small holding.
Yep.
And the land doesn't sell around there very often. And what did were more or less blocks of 20 acres or something like that. They'd be a shearer or a class of, in the business somewhere. So they all knew though that the land wasn't available for all of them. But of course the eldest one took it, didn't they? As we expected. John and I came to Perry because the kids all married either locally or here. And it seemed if we went back to Adelaide, where we'd both been, we would have to come up all the time to see grandchildren. So we decided to retire here in Port Pirie. And we had a 2-storey home, which I loved. And of course it was far too big when I lost John. But going up and down those stairs made my legs strong. And I played tennis until I was 75. But then again, I was still up there. And we used to play Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock. And sometimes the fog was down. So we'd be in long pants and jumpers and hats on our heads, gloves. And not easy holding a tennis racket and gloves. And some of the mornings it was so heavy, if it was yellow and came over the net, it was supposed to be hit back because it was the ball. But we had fun. Oh, I played basketball, coached, and sometimes basketball I played A grade and B grade because someone's boyfriend wasn't playing football and they all followed, football and basketball. And I coached, but it seems I was off one season and on the next type of thing. Went with the pregnancies. And I suppose it went for most of us, really. I enjoyed country life. Country life, and a lady called Alex Nottle who lived on a 20-acre block opposite my house. She introduced me to country community. And there was nothing in the city remotely like it. Our shearing often fell the day of the big sports day, the Frome sports day, not the little one. And of course you took a caseload of food with you and stuff like that, and they were in their uniforms. But if I was shearing, I don't know how ladies would offer to take either one or all of them. And she said, and I'll do food for them, but of course I'd do food for them too, which means they all overate. But yeah, it's the community in the country is amazing. And you know, country fires. As soon as Adelaide got in on it being big boys in trouble, they left it to the farmers. They knew exactly when the winds came during the day, which direction, while the other people were, well, I'm not going to say that. But country people know their own country. They know their seasons. They know which way their winds even blow at a certain time. Because I know a certain time up near Hawker, and the wind's blowing one way, and about 3:30 it comes another way altogether. Just switches in the hills or something. I don't know how. But have someone up to Adelaide to tell you how to manage fires which change like that. It was annoying when the local blokes knew how it was going to go. Oh well. My first school was Croydon Primary and I was 4.5. And then I went to Murray Bridge Convent because Dad got a move to Sydney. And of course, wartime, accommodations like hen's teeth. So it was Murray Bridge and I went to the convent there. Of course, I had second cousins there, first cousins there. And then Dad got a place on the coast, New South Wales. Can never remember the name of the place. And then he came closer to Sydney and we went to another place, I can't remember the name. Then we got Manly. So I can remember seeing a bloke fall off the cliff onto the rocks one Sunday. And they're saying, cover your eyes, cover your eyes. I wonder why should we... Anyway, the ambulance walked by and I can tell you there was a lot of red and white on the stretcher. And they talked about this man, he should be traumatised. Why am I going to be traumatised, you know? It wasn't a personal thing, so it really didn't hit me that a person had, well, I knew a person had died, but I don't think I knew what dying was.
How old were you then?
About 6. I can remember the Japanese submarines getting into Sydney Harbour. And they bombed Balrain, which was near the bridge. Well, of course, that alerted the different forces, and they got all 3 of them. And I can remember seeing them, they put them on low loaders and took them through the suburbs just to prove it wasn't war propaganda. But to me, Japanese submarine, you know, didn't mean a lot at all. So when we left Sydney, went back to Murray Bridge because we still couldn't find where Dad was. And I went to Loveday School then, and the Japanese prisoner of war camps were there, not far from the school. We didn't take any notice. No, Grandma and Grandpa, the Grandpa was head of the pump house there that pumped the water for the blocks onto Cobdogler. And one got away, one Japanese, and Grandpa had a heap of bamboo, it'd be almost as big as this room, and that's where they caught him. Because quite frankly, there was nothing left of it. You know, there was a shop and it was a post office and it was come one, come all type of thing. And of course I went up there every Christmas to my grandma, and where the rest of the family was, I'd say poor Denice going up to Grandma, because Grandma could be very strict. She'd say, "Do that again, my girl, and I'll do you some harm." Well, I knew then, and Grandma spoilt me rotten anyway. She never had a girl, just 3 boys. And she'd let me have a Christmas party and ask all the men who worked at the pump house, ask their children up for a Christmas party. And Grandpa would be Father Christmas, and Granny would be saving up all year in the bottom drawer of her dressing table were all the presents. Mind you, Grandpa got the same pair of black socks for 12 years. He'd get them and he'd lose them, then they'd come back 12 months later. And he was a lovely, quiet man, and to think he was an engineer in the Navy. What he saw, and he was just a quite lovely man. Granny fired all the shots in the family. I can remember, I think I was 4 and I was up there for Christmas, and I had Uncle Bob sitting next to me there, and Grandma had the traditional Christmas pudding. Well, I wasn't going to eat that. And then someone went like that, and they spat out a threepence and said, "I've got threepence, I'll have a piece." I had a second piece. I got nearly a shilling. 9pence, 6pence and a threepence. Oh, very well through that meal. But it was just, you look back and think, no, how it's all worked out. And people, I mean, sometimes people would say, well, you know so-and-so, it's absolutely hopeless. And quite often so-and-so would turn around and be quite brilliant, you know. And so I had, Mum was one of 10, and they all had large families. I had 17 first cousins, I think it was. And they weren't all helpful. I told a fib once. My auntie, she was only 6 years older than me, she told me God was going to send a shadow on the blind in my room if I told a lie. Well, I did, didn't I? So I'm lying there with the blankets up to here waiting for the shadow to arrive. Shows you. You never know what you're going to be told. But no, I wonder, you know, I've said to my boys a couple of times, did you have a happy childhood? And like me, they've never stopped to wonder. And as they said, well, yes, because they rode motorbikes at 6 or 7, driving the ute 9 and 10, you know, shooting a slug gun at 10. They were all given shooting, and John was his sport was pistol shooting. So they all got the whole screw about how careful you've got to be and what you do to be careful and not to walk around with a loaded one. Load it when you get where you're supposed to be. And we didn't have any accidents, and they all had slug guns, and as far as I know, they never took a pot shot at each other. They were just safe because that's what their father told them. Mind you, they didn't take too much notice of me. And of course Dad would say, "Our boys are just growing up." Bingo. That was it. Well, I knew nothing about boys until I was 18. I was playing basketball. Saturday weekends too. And then when I played the 2 games, and then I'd umpire as well. I had a full schedule. And Mum and Dad took me to a dance live. I was 17 when I made my debut. And of course, you know, your social life doesn't really roll on. Once you've made your debut and you get sick of wearing the same jolly dress every week, we'd go to Penola and, you know, way out there in Mount Gambier on the Penola Road. I had quite a heavy ball schedule and would be dressed in strapless dresses, you know. It's freezing, absolutely freezing, and not every car had a heater in it. Little white ball stole with the gold thread through it for his shoulders. Take it off, nothing, just strapless, you know. And we never seemed to get cold. But, and some of the cars were pretty rickety, you know. And some weren't good. They'd be Dad's car and, you know, it would be spotless, so it'd be spotless when it got home. Then I had 5 friends, went up to Adelaide to nurse. I was in the bank at this stage and getting a bit of attention from the male clerk, junior one, and these 5 of them I think went up and they all came back bar one. And I thought, time for a change. So I just got in touch with one girl and she said I could have her uniforms. She'd sell them to me. And she was my size, fortunately. And then I went home and told Mum. I didn't ask. I told her I was going nursing. And she said, with whom? I said, no one. Because I really do think with a group of girls, if someone gets some brilliant idea, they all get it, you know. You can get killed that way. But anyway, no, I decided I'd go up myself. Mum came up for the interview at the Children's Hospital. And the interviewer had been an army nurse. And she made a lot of sense. So that was it. Got the uniform and bye-bye Mount Gambier. And I found, well, 5 girls had the same religion, Catholic. So we had basically the same sense of values. And yeah, we got on quite well together. At the Children's Hospital, you're all on one floor in your own room. So, and then there were the girls you worked with. And gradually you got to know I think it was 7 floors in that nursing home. and the top floor was for the night staff, because they were supposed to sort of sleep or rest until 3:30 in the afternoon. The fact that at 10:30 you could be on Rundle Street. Yeah, well, that's the thing from my mother and her 5 sisters, or was it 4? 4. They wouldn't go outside the gate without makeup. And then I had a sister who got addicted to alcohol, and she ended up breaking it and doing AA, and they had a creed: look good, feel good. And so that means makeup. So, you know, and Mum never left the house without lipstick anyway. But it's too easy. See, people say, well, sometimes you're all dressed up, but it's not. I just buy clothes I like that will last. And I mean, I've got some dresses and that are 20, 30 years old. I paid money for them.
Yeah, of course.
But they're still there. And they still look good. Mind you, I'll wear them to death, some of them. Yeah, but different people are seeing you say, and you know, not everybody can nurse children. They don't want to hurt the sweet little things. Well, you're not going to get anywhere there. And yet the children's hospital is one of the happiest places I've ever known. I mean, kids will even come up to you and take your uniform and remind you it's time for such and such. And the resident, the doctors, specialists, they'd have their students and they'd go from bed to bed with all, and there'd be nurse with all the case histories there and that. And you've got 30 kids listening to the treatments. They all knew what they had. They all knew what they were going to get, plus Tommy next door and Johnny over here, and the whole ward would know. And they took it better, the sadder cases, they knew. And they tried to prepare their parents. They are the ones we had to help, really. And sometimes we had some really sad cases through. We had a pair of twinnies born after Dad was killed in an accident. And then they both came in with a pneumonia. And they came in and then one died. And you couldn't tell which was the live one, the dead one, when they were all fixed up. And we used to try to help her as much as we could. But then you had little horrors too. There was one, she had a plaster on her leg, and she used to pick through it because she had a disease in her bone in her leg. And she'd pick through the plaster and she'd pick through the flesh until she came to the actual bone. So she came back from theatre one day, carry flat, bicycle chains if necessary. Because she came down with a plaster on over it, she'd start picking at it before it had set you hard, and she'd get to it. And my sister ended up one day chasing her around the River Torrens, down near the entrance to the zoo. And a carload of young coppers went past, about 4, and they were giving Anne advice of how to run. She stopped and told them so-and-so to get down here and help me catch this frightened kid. They were good days. And I think all of us had a determination that a lot of people didn't have. And yet we had, of the 200 odd girls in that place, I guess at least you knew 150 of them. Because not only did you meet them in the home, you made new friends every time you worked in another ward. And we worked in a ward for 6 weeks, then we'd move to another one. And you'd go around a couple of years and then you begin the circle again with different people. And yeah, all in all, the nurses' home was a very friendly place. Not to say they like one night we called our home sister Bloody Mary. And we went to see the show one night and had a few drinks. So we serenaded her when we got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. I think the song in the show is Bloody Mary's the girl we love. Well, we all were going to be sent down to see Matron E, but Bloody Mary herself spoke to us and let her go. We had quite a few sisters and the kids who had been in the army. But they had a different outlook. Because I can remember I had trouble with the bloke one night. I shouldn't say that. I got out of the car, I decided I was walking home. And I was on night duty and should be there at 9:45 ready to start work. Well, I didn't get back until midnight. So Joy Bills, who had been army, she said to me, why are you late? And I said, I had man trouble and decided to walk home. Oh, she said, that's all right. Let her go. Amazing what understanding can do. And we all had nicknames for most of the top sisters there. Starry Eyes was one. Joy Bills another. Yeah, and some I won't go into. But nursing at the children's, yes, it was a happy place. Yeah. Because the personalities there were the right ones to be there. There were a few that started and just couldn't cope, you know. So I tried to get through a hopper window one night, just off the ground, and it was the new look. And you get your hem of your dress and go like this and still have yards of material. Good for a large tent. And we had rope petticoats to hold it out. Little rope in the hand. Tried getting through a hopper window with one of those. It went over my head. It went over that way, this way. And I've got one foot in the home and then I've got the glass and the rest of me's out here. Oh, never going to much nicer to go down to be told you see Matron in the morning. But yeah, I never regret those 3 years. ever. You know, there were some nutcases there, not in the hospital, but in the nursing home. And outlandish things they could do was nobody's business. And of course we had the hill that went up towards North Adelaide proper, and there were the university residents up there, the kids were at uni and that's where they're boarding. And we'd be raided every year by a boys' home up there. Oh, they used to, well, it was a shock to be half dressed and have a male walk in on you. But in a way, a negative, twisted way, we thought, no, it was going to happen, we're getting close, you know. And then come back and find it had happened, you know. It was an off-the-cuff thing. And nothing nasty happened, ever. I mean, we had an incoming phone booth on every floor, and when you walked in, it all lit up. As soon as you went out, the spring would be up again, you see. And I'm going to the bathroom block with, well, you only have the girls there, so you don't get dressed up to go and have a bath. And you don't take your clothes there either. Yeah, it was someone, the porter was coming, I think. I jumped in this room, I got all lit up just as the porter walked past. And of course the door had glass and he just laughed. I think it happened more than once to him. They were a good 3 years. And you think of the kids, that there was some things looked worse than they were actually. Babies going to theatre, you had to bandage them onto a crucifix. Well, they couldn't move and twitch in the anaesthetic. The anaesthetic area, the wound area had to be exposed firmly, so there's no wiggles. And so for some operations, that's what we had to do. And they all probably grew up into healthy adults. Some of us actually cried when we left that place. We all got close to it. And then once you went out the gate, you didn't look back, because it was all back there. In my time, if you married, you lost your job. We're taking the jobs from the men. And I had girls in offices who lost jobs because of that. A man, like a clerk, positions and that. And you just wondered, you know, I wonder how men get on in this world alone. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about that, but you know. And I think of my granny, and she said, it's management, Denice. It's all management. Well, 92 years of age, I can still walk with help, the walker. And I have a bit of a disease here, but no one seems to worry about it, so I don't either. And I cough and cough and cough, and that's from weak lungs, I suppose. I had a cough, asthma, and once I cough I usually go on and on. But when it stops and stops until it comes again. Lots of things come again. But really, I've had quite a happy life. People, see, in my day, people didn't say, did you have a happy childhood? That was just our life, that's just it, you know. But if Colin needed a thumping, he got one. And he's departed now, and he came to work on the farm for us for a couple of years. And I said to him, you know, I said, you've got to go back, Colin, and get a job. I said, otherwise you're just going to be a farmer's hand for the rest of your life. I said, I mean, he got 4 credits and 2 distinctions. And he would have been just a farm hand. He had a brain. He, you know, should use it. And, you know, so he left us after 2 years and back to Queensland. Ended up there with a TAB in a high position. And then he sort of managed his life. He hated being told what to do. So he said, you know, Colin, if I wonder if you could do that. Let it sink through to him what I wanted to do. But I ended up, my husband, he spent most of his life in Adelaide. But he was trouble. He was an only child, and he was enough trouble for a whole family. Only his mother didn't know. As Richard announced it in his obituary when he died. Richard ran through a whole lot of what his father had done. People couldn't believe they were hearing about John Featherstonehaugh. But it was all true. So I met John and married him. And of course, he was the only male of that line left. Mm-hmm. And we had 6 boys. And how does that happen? Talk about great mysteries, greater than. And of course, I went up bush, hadn't been bush at all. Had my own car. My husband said the oil never got cold in it. I joined every group, the school, Catholic Women's League, country women. It just went on. And I was state president of the Catholic Women's League for 9 years. And I travelled from here. Furthest point was Townsville, I think. Down Tassie, Western Australia, Northern Territory, Olympic Dam. And you know, quite often the priest has, I'm not going to say a leading position, but he's known in most small communities, you know. So we got a tour of the Olympic Dam when it was first made. Wouldn't have done that if I just sat at home and looked after the family. So, you know, I wanted to learn to glide. I think I was 14, I was setting up a club at Mount Gambier. Well, I asked Dad, he said, certainly, Tig. And then, I don't know whether he said something to Mum or if I want. Oh, that's what he said, you have to ask your mother. Well, you should have heard my mother. I'm going to get killed and I'm going to be maimed for life. I went, Mum could never see a bright side to her side. It was always how you're going to end up a physical wreck. I should have known. If I hadn't have asked her, I would have got out and then there'd be hell to pay. So, but I would have liked to have learned to fly. And I was telling my husband this, and he said to me, it's bad enough you in a car. He said, at least I know you're in the same state. So
you're a bit of trouble.
No, not really. Women for so long were expected to do things, mammy-pammy things, you know. And when the suffragette movement came along, they talk about the liberationists, and I worry about them. The suffragettes are the ones who had the true, because they had the police all against them and that sort of thing. And they really did have a tough time. And if it hadn't been for them, I mean, who can be a free woman, a free thinking woman, and then go around and do what every male thinks she should do? It just would be chaos and not nice. So women had to take things into their own hands. And for a woman to do that, I think of a couple of prime ministers, female, one in particular, not very fond of. I don't think she made a good job of it. But at least I've tried. As Grandma said, sow a seed, let it grow. Levels of who was going to be boss, you know, in the group, a group of girls, you know. And of course, I'd hear them go on about who they are. So I was going to be Deanna Durbin. Couldn't sing a note. But still I was singing, you know. And yeah, some of those old films are shockers. But here and there is a little gem, you know. And Sonja Henie, she was a skater, but I think her heritage was Swedish. And she'd skate. And this little brief skirt, oh, good grief, you know. I don't know why they got like that, because when the mini dress came here, some of them had the shortest possible skirts on and boots up to their knees, you know, and this expensive leg all exposed, and no one took any notice, you know. And if you cut it down even finer, underwear, you can see it at the beach. Worse at the beach, because you've got big cheeks there, you know, and which is not in ordinary underwear, because it's not comfortable. But I see some of the fabrics in the competition now, dry, you can't see through them, wet, you can. And it's amazing how the highs and lows come and how they sit. And I love the mini skirt. I had a beautiful one. You could put it together like that and it still was a big tent. And it was dusky pink with lace here. And I was at Mount Gambier, and Mragaret, she's my auntie and 6 years older than me, so she's more like a sister. Actually, when I wanted a deb prop, I was in Mount Gambier. Mum wrote to Mragaret, who was a apprentice hairdresser at Myer. So Mragaret actually picked out my dress. And it arrived, it's organza and some cheap price. But compared to today's prices, you know. And even in here, I'm quite happy here. I think it's wonderful that someone else cooks the meals and that sort of thing, and someone else again clean. It's a bit irksome getting someone, if you want to get out, to look around at something. But my angel boy Richard comes every Monday and he takes me out. So we go out to Harry's out on the highway. He knows those blokes. And well, anyway, he travels up and down the road, knows them. And we like the fisherman's basket that we have. And what I don't like, which you'll eat anyway, they've given up chips out there because I hand so much of my stuff across to Richard. But you know, I say to Richard, and I want a new dress. Not like, also you don't need a new dress, blah, blah, blah. He'll say, okay, and we'll drive to uptown, and he'll make himself comfortable in the laid-back seat. And I can be in there an hour more and he won't complain. And that's the thing. And we see now Rick John, my husband, 3/4 of an hour, he'll say, where's the parcel? And I said, I couldn't make my mind up, you know. I said, I like them both. I said, I couldn't choose, so I left them. He said, you've been there 3/4 of an hour, you better go and buy both. Richard still lives over at Mragaret. Stephen lives here. Michael lives here with his wife. Andrew lives out past just the rim of Port Pirie. He's supposed to retire. I'd be shocking to live in the house with him when he's retired. So he's gone back twice to Roxby Downs. They have an extra job that comes up. Andrew usually applies and gets it. But I think he's retired again. Mark, yes, he's here. And Nicholas, I'm not too sure where he is, but I think he's down outside Adelaide somewhere. They all like the bush, you know. They all went over the Simpson Desert on motorbikes. They've all been up to Fink on motorbikes. Actually, I go to Fink almost every year to watch the different races. And of course there's nothing at Fink, not a thing. But my boys all like the bush, you know. And no, I wouldn't be any good in the bush by myself. I'd be moaning Moses in it, I think. No. I think at 92 you're sort of more comfort orientated. But I love going out there if there's a motel or something on the other end of it that I can go to. I don't think I'd go very well on the swag anymore. But there are one or two regrets. But I'm still here. I'm still reasonably happy. Don't have any fatal diseases, so I guess I'll come. I hope I got a strong enough faith. Though after Stephen him that sheep dip, I'm a great believer in a Hail Mary here and a Hail Mary there, and anything goes wrong or happens for the good. And I think that's what it is, really. These people that think you've got to get around and be miserable and suffer, there's something wrong with them. I don't think that was ever the intent of the great Lord. You know, I wonder why people go to Jerusalem. I'm a Catholic, I believe. No way I'd go near bloody Jerusalem. Look at the troubles they got over there. Look how easy you can be killed for some reason that you don't believe in. No, I don't want to go to Jerusalem. It's the last place on earth. And to say I've walked in his footsteps, I've done that mentally. I don't want to do it physically. Truly, I can't believe them. Oh, we're all worked up, we're going to the Holy Land. And I think, well, for you. Because Iran's against Jerusalem, there's always trouble there. And I don't, want trouble. I do miss the company of a man, because he get into trouble, he gets the blame, doesn't he? We're married 63 years. Not once did he complain. And anyway, if he got into an argument, we were on the land. He said, well, I better see how those sheep are and dry damn paddock. Come back and thought it's all over and and I think to myself, well, that was stupid. I'm not that keen on just getting that little, well, you wouldn't know. I think that'd be enough to set me off. Of course I bloody know what's wrong. But I do think what this world lacks, this includes us, is discipline. If you haven't got that, place is chaos. I mean, there's things that I know I don't want to do, but should be done. So I do them. And it starts with getting out of bed in the morning. But hear about people talking abusing the children. I think, no, I never abused the children. You bloody kids do that one more time. Yes, Mum. Oh dear. But they know I love them all. Well, I've got a nickname in the family. I'm Niece. Everyone calls me Niece, including my son's friends and their friends. Wherever I'm sort of in, I'm Niece. One of the kids one day talking to me, he said, that's your grandmother. That's not, that's our niece. So there. So the younger ones at the moment, like Lila and maybe Billy, they don't know that yet. But as I don't see them that much, I wouldn't know. But yeah, niece. And I don't mind it really. And my sister in the West, they all call her the Wicked Witch. We told her once, the kids called her the Wicked Witch of the West, because she lives in Western Australia, cheeky young buggers. But they call her the Wicked Witch. And mainly because if they did something, and I speak on the phone maybe 3 times a week, and talk about everything from what's wrong with our feet to the head. And she'll ring them up. Did you do such and such? Oh, yes, Auntie Anne. And she said, well, you know you shouldn't do a thing like that. See, being witchy. So she's the Wicked Witch of the West. We talk all right. Sometimes it's at night. She's talking about her daughter Leah. I think she's pregnant. She's having a little girl. She's thinking of calling her Isabel. Oh, I think it's a beautiful name, but so old-fashioned. When I was 8 and I was living at Loveday, Granny was treasurer of the Naval Forces group. And Mrs. Ramsay, she was the treasurer. Now, what did I say Granny was? I said she was the treasurer. Mrs. Ramsay was president. And the room where they held the meetings, just the two of them talking about the group in general, was next to the room where I was. You had to walk through there to get to another part of the house. And my room was entered onto the hallway there, where the dining room was, where they had these meetings. So I used to lie across the end of my bed, and Granny had a window, a bed, dressing table with wings. So I'd set them so I could somehow, and I'd see them. And I used to lie across my bed and watch them. Sneaky, I suppose, but there you are. It did help me to work out certain things. And I'd listen to those two. And also there were Mr. and Mrs. Harold. Oh, what was her name? He ran the Cobb Doppler pump house. And their first son was in the Air Force and up at the front somewhere. And so I've always been a night owl, even as a kid. So I used to arrange these wings of the mirror so I could study and reflect in odd ways and I could see them. And I'd lie awake at the end of the bed and listen in. What do they say about pig's ears for little people or something? Yeah, well, there you are. Look, my memory's quite sharp for those days because they cover Loveday, they cover Prospect, Murray Bridge, Mount Gambier. About the only thing on my past I don't remember is Kimber, where I was born. And I would say my memories started about 3. Yeah, Anne's 2 years younger than me, and I can remember she was born at Murray Bridge. And I can remember Nana nursing her, and then I was before I went to Sydney, I had a big fall and I broke my arm, and I can remember screaming as though I'm dying while someone's gone on a horse to get a doctor. I had to have it set. Now I still had that in a sling when we went to Sydney. But you can't remember I can remember my clothes the first time I saw John. He could remember them too. About the only time he's ever remembered a dress, other than mine. First time he saw me was a dress. He could remember, yeah. Other than that, you could be stark naked and he wouldn't know. No, he's always said stark naked is not attractive. A little bit of something's necessary to lift the game. So there. Well, you know, we had lessons at school that they don't have now. First thing in the morning at Prospect at Rosary, you got into a lineup and it was a spelling bee and you went up and down as, you know. God, I hated that. But I was good at English. So I was good at spelling. And you don't realise the connection when you're that age. And so yes, God, some of the teachers were bad-tempered. I knew one nun, she should have been on a broomstick. But, you know, Christianity, good and sweet. You should hear some of them when they get annoyed. And as I said, that should be on a bloody broomstick, complete with cat. She might have been better if she had a friend like the cat. But so much can influence you. I could play basketball, I was good. I went from this small school, Holy Rosary Prospect, to Cabra. Oh, some girls have been there since grade 3. And they were, you know, quite honestly, I didn't want to be, you know. And I went for trials at, oh shit, absolutely, and I couldn't work it out. So from there I went down to Mount Gambier. And I've got, Mum's brother lived there. He had 3 daughters and a boy. Well, I got down there and I'm in stockings and hat, gloves, you name it. And Sister Mary Dominic, she took one look at me and she said, "So," she said, "you're the cousin, are you?" I thought, Well, when I got to the court, she said, "I wonder if you've got the Landcake leap." I thought, what in the hell's that? You know, because Landcake was my mother's surname. There's not a lot of them around, not even now. And so Sister Dominic, she was a sports mistress, blew the whistle. She said to me, "What positions can you play?" I said, "Well, I've played goalie." And said, "I play defence wing and goalie defence." And she said, "Okay." She said, "So we'll try a defence wing." She said, "That's it." And off we went, and there was 3 of us together. It was like a dream come true. Not that we overdid it, but if you're in a situation and I saw Pat and we were going her way, well then he threw it to her. But then they were pivotal keys in that area too. Yeah, I used to get best player every week. except when she umpired. We had twinnies in the team. And one was very coarse skin and pretty ordinary looks. Another one was light fairy, lighter skin, you know. But of course, they played together. And Diane, the coarser of the two, she wasn't the better of the two. But when her aunt umpired, she got best player. And we all took it. We all knew. I actually have enjoyed my life. Yeah. I've done a couple of things that have worried me. And you know, how is it going to turn out? I shouldn't have done that. And one thing and the other. Well, at school I either got a belting or words, lines to do, you know. But I've been pretty happy. I mean, you know, I thought they'd taking bets in the Murraytown pub when I went in to have the last baby. Of course, some optimistic blokes bet for a girl, but the other ones who knew me bet for a boy, and of course I won. But in leaving the city and going bush virtually, like at Murraytown School, I ended up president of the mothers, but then so did a lot of others. And I played that's when I played the basketball. And the tennis down at Bangor, it's down in the valley, 3 courts or 4 courts. There's an afternoon shed down there, and the roof is seaweed. It's got to be the coolest shed around the place because of the seaweed. And I don't know, we're not all related, but we've known each other for donkey's years, you know. I can remember one day, you keep this one out, Jean's a stout, short lady. Wendy was taller, thinner, you know. Anyway, she and I were up one end and he said, "Who are her down there? She's bloody dreaming." And of course Wendy was serving. So she up with the ball, pew! Jean Turner. And then Jean's a backhander, 2 hands. Bang! She said, "You thought I was bloody asleep, didn't you?" I've never forgotten the look on Jean's face and the 2 hands on the racket. Thought I was bloody asleep, didn't you? Wendy and I up the other end laughing our heads off. But there's so much in the country, you know. They had cows and they used to let them wander after the 6 o'clock milk to get feed and that, you know. They'd go as far as the Mragaret forest and wait for them to come home in the morning so they could milk them. Yeah, and there were lots of pole men, but they never married. They liked Mum looking after them. And so families dying out. There's some interesting names. I mean, we've got a castle. It's in England. So I talk about it, you know. And they found that having the castle keeping it up to date and everything kept them poor. So they gave them to the National Trust, didn't they? And they had money then, and the National Trust looked after it. It's still there. But, you know, I've got a photo of it in those drawers over there. But where's the point of getting uptight about a castle you've never seen? I was 60. That's another 1 or 2 down there.
Yep.
I'd start 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the kitchen table, and I'd still be there. And John would wander out and he said, "Are we having tea tonight?" 10 o'clock. See, he let me do things I wanted to do, except fly. Wouldn't have had that. Yeah, because I used to low fly in the car anyway. Well, if you're in the country, you know, years ago when cars weren't available so easily, and there's only one car, one family type of thing, it's a lot different from one family, 5 cars or something like that. Because the kids expect a car now. And you know, people say, oh, they wouldn't. Of course they do. That's their means of freedom. We were all living at Prospect in a 2-bedroom close sleep out place, and 10 of us.
Oh, wow.
And Mark had a friend who was an only child, and her parents were proper. And she's going to this big ball. And Mum had kept some of her 1920 jobs. And one had hardly any back and no front, 20s dress, flapper dress. And the other one was all black, and it still had a slit down to here and no back. So that's all Margaret had open to her. She's the one who was 6 years older than me. And so, and there was Auntie Anne, she was 2 years younger than Mum. And Auntie Anne got together with Mum. And Auntie Anne said, what's Margaret wearing to the ball? And Mum said, well, she intends wearing one of those dresses, you know, the one without the back. And oh God, Rose, she can't wear that. So we didn't know this was going on, put their heads together, and they went into Myers one day, met in town, and they found this royal blue satin dress. And they decided the colour would suit her, and Mum was the same size. And so when Mark came home the day of the ball, she said, everything all right, Rose? And Rose says, yes. She said, that dress of mine, you know. You know, the dress without a back? And Margaret said yes. She said, well, Anne and I fixed it up. We put sleeves in it. Margaret was she's going to die on the spot. She said, sleeves? I mean, because the bloody dress had no back. So how would you put sleeves in it? So they said to Margaret, well, if you want to look at it, it's hanging on a hanger on the door in the girls' room. Well, off she went. She was dragging her steps. She wasn't looking forward to this. And then we heard her scream. And Mark and Auntie and Mum and Auntie Anne look at him. What's happened? Up to the top room. And Margaret's in shock. She sees this royal blue satin job hanging on the wall. Well, Auntie Anne was sort of like the wicked witch of that generation. And because if anyone's going to criticise, she would. And so Mum went up there and she started talking on there and said, well, you know, Margaret, you know, we went. Margaret says, beautiful. Oh, their problems were over, she liked it. But you see, they virtually didn't have the money. But the sisters and Mum's family, and they're almost the same in my family, sisters. Well, sisters are better friends than husbands or anything like that. Well, we found it in the family, so that's the case. They talk about being dressed up in balls. Mary married Harry. Harry used to be a jockey and a trainer and I don't know what not. And they eventually bought, it was down underground, like a cellar level cafe. It was rather nice too. Of course, Harry used to bet on anything. 2 flies on a wall, which one's going to take off first, you know, and all that. And that virtually kept them poor. Mary used to work, she's a good cook. And she'd make the money and bloody Harry would lose. And she wouldn't leave him because she said he'd be so far down his luck he wouldn't have anything.
Yep.
So she stayed with him. They asked me, Harry died. Was cremated, and he wanted to be put on to, this is the last one, to be put out on the racetrack at the race course. So we picked up the ashes. And they were in a flatter dish. They weren't tall and skinny like you put on your mantelpiece. It was flatter and wider because we said we're going to scatter them outdoors. So you had to have something easier. So I don't know how many were in the cab of the ute. I know there was 3 of us at the back. So as the elders, they said I could scatter them. So I was in the back with 2 or 3 others. And the lid was on this thing. And I loosened it a little bit so I could get it off easier when we got to the spot. Well, there was a wind and we're in the back of the ute. So I've got loosened the lid, so I just go like that. And we're almost there and we got over this big pothole. Up we went. Down we came. And away went Uncle Harry. We looked at each other. And I'm like, why'd you do that to me? So I said, it was a bump on my hand went up, you know. The wind just took them. And I said, well, it's on the racetrack somewhere, isn't it? But basically, yeah, this is the race grounds. And the track's a bit over there. So we decided to go back to the house and have a drink and get over it. And I couldn't believe it, you know. Uncle Harry. What? I should have known, being with the cousins again, something was going to happen. And of course we don't see each other very much anymore. So I wasn't there when they had the horse in for supper. Was. He's in the paddock next door. And they are having supper, and they say, oh, poor whatever he was out there, all on the cod and that. So one of them went out and got him in for supper in the kitchen. They didn't think it was weird. Gosh, they were well on the way though. I thought, well, I'm glad I wasn't there. They can't blame me for that. But that's it. Large families still keep their connection. I think sometimes they keep the connection better than just one or two in a family. You know. Mum would, if someone was having a birthday and there was a party and there were invitations, Mum would expect in her day to be asked. Therefore she would expect in the next generation same rules apply, you know. And it's a pity she didn't allow for their temperament sometimes. Well, and I don't have to think back that far either, you know. And then having all those cousins, and if you take into account their parents' attitude, which is very much like ours, you know. And you come to a place like this where everyone's stayed alone, you know. But I'm not unhappy here. I'm safe. And that's my story so far.